Ever since the dawn of time, the OC Games subreddit has been known for absurdly low quality memes, yet some of those memes are just so low quality that they transcend the scale and become absolutely incredible. And this meme right here that was posted in like 2020 just takes the cake completely. This is one of the most cryptic memes the community has ever seen, and it probably warrants a couple hours worth of conversation, but for the sake of time I'll try to keep this relatively concise. So I'll show you the whole thing because it's fairly long in just a sec, but before I get into it, I want to say when I first saw this meme it didn't really make sense to me. I think my IQ just wasn't really that high yet, but I recently rediscovered it and I was actually able to extract some semblance of meaning, so I'll try to discuss my interpretation as well. So I'm going to show this to you guys by just scrolling through it, and if you're just listening to this video then I somewhat apologize, but there's no way that this meme can be described with just words. So if you were like me right after you saw this for the first time, you probably have a lot of questions in your head right now. What exactly is the meaning of this meme? How is it possible that this is a real creation that someone made? What is the meaning of life? How do I know that the people around me aren't just a figment of my imagination? And these are all valid questions to have after seeing this for the first time. But I'm going to try to break down sort of my understanding of what's going on here. So here you have the actual player of the map, and this arrow basically represents the attempt at getting a full combo. And you can see that the arrow is cleverly labeled my nerves, and that's sort of a representation of the fact that the nerves are something that's sort of constant throughout the entire run. It's not like you were only nervous at a specific part of the map, but you were pretty much nervous the entire time. So up next we have that one part I mind blocked. Now this is the first sort of hurdle that can be experienced in trying to get a full combo. The most infamous example of this, and I apologize if I offend anyone here, but the pattern in the big black at 70 combo, that's like a slider to the top left and then a circle in the middle and then a slider to the top right. You guys know exactly what pattern I'm talking about. Mind block doesn't have to be at the end of the map, you know, it can really be anywhere, and that's basically what's happening in this situation. So next we have fixing grip. And I think a lot of players struggle with needing to fix their grip even relatively early into a map, but what's being represented here is that the arrow, which again is a representation of the attempt at getting a full combo, which has nerves inherently attached to it, since the player is nervous the entire time. And yet still it was able to get past fixing grip while still continuing the FC. Alright, next up we have 1-2. Now this is the first set of 1-2s. As you can see, it's not very spaced, and this is just showing that the FC still continued through the first set of 1-2 jumps. Now next we have even bigger 1-2s. Now it's not only bigger in spacing literally, but the circles themselves are also bigger, and I think that's a sort of more abstract way of representing bigger jumps. You can see the arrows going head on straight through the 1-2s. Now if this was an actual map and your cursor was shooting straight through the middle of a 1-2 jump, then obviously you would miss the whole thing. But in this case, it's a representation of moving cleanly through the 1-2 jumps. Now next up, very ultimate, my mom. Now it's very interesting here because your mom is not actually getting in the way of the arrow. Now it is a potential possibility, especially when you know that your mom is in the area, but yet what it's showing is that your mom looked over and potentially considered disrupting you during your attempt at full comboing. But yet we can see that our mom here did not actually take any action towards disrupting our full combo, and so our attempt was able to continue. So next up we have the last 10 seconds of a map. So now we're really approaching the possibility of getting that full combo, and if they weren't already, then our nerves are starting to shoot through the roof at this point. Now in reaching the last 10 seconds of a map, there's a lot to consider, and it's tempting to sort of have thoughts like, oh, you know, this is my last chance to not mess up this run and get the FC. But as we can see by this still frame, we have these shooting arrows around the screen, which are basically representing the confidence that we have going into the last 10 seconds. Our focus is not faltering, our aim or tapping is not faltering, and we're just shooting straight through the last 10 seconds of the map. Now next up we have the last note after the spinner, and that is the final barrier before getting that full combo. Now this is a very deceptive and somewhat controversial mapping technique. So there are many maps that end with a very long spinner, and then there are some maps that end with a long spinner and then one little note right at the end. And the strategy basically involves keeping the players at their toes the entire time, and you know, basically not celebrating too early. When you get to that spinner, you never know if there's going to be a note at the end. But many players find that they just aren't careful enough, and they expect the map to be over after finishing that spinner just for there to be one last note at the very end that they didn't expect. And then the very last frame in this meme is, that's right, a miss on the last note after the spinner, just before the FC. Now there's a couple things here. First of all, the FC is completely unfazed. It's almost like he expected that you would miss on that note after the spinner and not get him or get the FC. And yet it is also an abstract representation of how all the different things can go right, and you can be lucky when others were unlucky, yet still find misfortune in the most unopportune ways. Now I just had to share this meme with you guys. I think it's just way too good to not share on this channel, but I'll have this image linked in the description, and yeah, that's about it.